A few years ago, I set out on a perfect start. First sentence of the video, I'm already stumbling my words. Let's go, baby. Oh, yeah. Anyway, a few years ago, I set out on a journey, one that has remained unfinished until today. Since 2011 and the release of Elder Scrolls Skyrim, I had heard up and down from Elder Scrolls fans from across the vast tendrils of the monstrous cancer we call the internet that Skyrim was hollow, an empty mess that betrays its predecessors and ruins the Elder Scrolls name. What was largely considered to be one of the most anticipated fantasy games in years quickly fell to scrutiny by its most dedicated fanbase. After years of hearing this, I decided it was time to form my own opinion. After all, I liked Skyrim. Hell, I more than liked it, I loved it. It was one of my favorite games of all time. It's the homes to so many of my lonely nights in my early 20s, spent exploring caves and ruins, learning the history of this rich world, and creating a life that's so distracting from my own that I wish that I could live it. But what if I was wrong? What if it was just recency bias and Skyrim being the only Elder Scrolls game I've ever played made me think it was better than it actually was? To that end, I set out on the Elder Scrolls journey, a mission to play all 5 mainline Elder Scrolls games in order, give them fair and honest reviews, and decide by the end if Skyrim was truly as bad as people made it out to be, and also if I was truly an Elder Scrolls fan or just a fan of Skyrim. Hello everyone, my name is JoJo. I'm an amateur historian, professional storyteller, and Dead by Daylight player, and today it's time for me to finally finish a series that I started years ago, the journey through Elder Scrolls, and wrap it up by not only talking about Skyrim, but giving my final ranking at the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, but I do want to let you know before we get into it that this is just a largely auditory experience, so feel free to throw this video on a second monitor, or smart TV, or TI-82 calculator, whatever the case may be, and let's jump into a defense of Skyrim. Chapter 1. As Good as I Remember. I don't suspect this video will stretch too long, but before I dive into the meat and potatoes of this defense of Skyrim, I want to take a moment to talk about my experience with the game in a bit greater depth. See, I didn't actually start off playing Skyrim in its release year of 2011. I actually have an embarrassing story about how me and my best friend at the time got stuck in Helen for an hour after we borrowed a friend's copy of the game back in 2013, because the two of us, who were both 19 on the verge of 20 by the way, couldn't figure out that you were supposed to jump from the burning tower that Alduin crashes through. We kept falling over the edge and getting stuck and couldn't figure it out. We may not be the brightest bulbs in the shed, I'll be honest. In any case, it wouldn't be until later in 2015, in the crux of my 22nd year, that I would randomly pick up Skyrim for my old Xbox 360 that I had bought with me in the move from Louisiana to California. I was working part-time at a grocery store janitor at the time, and over 1,000 miles from everyone I had ever loved and known over the past 22 years of life, save my mom and dad. I created a Khajiit because I love cats, and after doing the impossible task of reading the words on the screen that tell you what to do, I was gifted with escaping the tutorial and being hurled into the vast open world of Skyrim. Them to death real quick. Hello, bandits! I'm here to take your shit! My first character was, of course, a stealth archer thief assassin, naturally, and I quickly found the world to be immersive and expansive. I learned lore, listened to the dialogue, learned the personality of the characters, and lost myself in this wonderful world. I laughed with the glitches, cried with emotions, and spent hours upon hours living alternative lives over and over again. Coming back to playing Skyrim over the years, I can't say much has really changed about that for me. Across my old Xbox 360 copy, my PS4 copy, and most recently my Steam copy, I've amassed probably thousands of hours in Skyrim. I've explored every nook and cranny, built hundreds of characters, and yet, every time that dark screen fades and I look into Raylof's bedroom blue eyes again, don't back away from me. Come here. Don't back away from me, Rayloff. I'm gonna give you a big fat kiss on the lips. Look at them bedroom blue eyes. I sigh with affection at the game that held me through some truly rough times. The game that taught me that my love of stories didn't have to only be experienced through predetermined characters in video games, but could be built by me playing through the character. I talked at length in both my Oblivion and Morrowind reviews that what makes me love the Elder Scrolls is the ability to live that second life, to go on a journey of self-discovery and build a character from the ground up to be what you want them to be, spend tens, if if not hundreds of hours doing so and never even touched the main story, and Skyrim still provides that. After so many years, booting up Skyrim still fills me with a sense of love and wonder that the very first time I stepped out of Helen did. I will have complaints later, but until then, I just want to say that Skyrim is indeed as good as I remember. Chapter 2, The Complaints and My Defense. What may surprise some people is that by the end of this video, you will find that I share a lot of your complaints, but what I hope to do with this video is provide a kind of counterbalance and a rebuttal to some of the complaints I disagree with. I first want to address a comment I heard by someone I do greatly respect and I've seen mirrored a few times, and that is that Skyrim's main story railroads you while no other Elder Scrolls game does this. And I just want to ask, what the fuck are you all talking about? Firstly, if we look at the 5 mainline Elder Scrolls games, the only one that doesn't slightly railroad you is Morrowind. In Morrowind, you're let out into the big open world with only one objective: go to Balmora when you feel like it and speak to Cassius Casadus. Until then, you are free to do whatever you want and there really is no rush. The world-ending shit only happens once you've truly settled into the main story, and I mean truly settled in, with even Cassius not letting you progress until you've leveled and joined a guild or two. Arena, Daggerfall, and Oblivion all introduce the world-ending disasters from jump and hang it over your head while you're attempting to build your life. All Elder Scrolls games require suspensions of disbelief to live the life that you want to live within them, but I'd argue Skyrim comes the closest to Morrowind in allowing you to live whatever life and the least amount of suspension of disbelief. The dragon shows up to, quote, harbingers of the end times, but you're never made to feel like you are the one that has to go on a main quest journey. You start off with either Hadvar or Ralof telling you their respective faction leaders will know more about the dragon and its meaning, and then from there it's basically whatever. You can follow them to Riverwood and start the chain of events leading to you receiving the mission from Balgruuf, but you're not really expected to by the NPCs. There's not expectation laid upon you by the world or even the quest logs. There is some urgency, but nowhere near the levels of, go, quick, find the bastard son of the Emperor, you are our only hope, beginning that Oblivion shoves at you. Overall, I find the beginning of Skyrim to be quite relaxing. It took me years to actually finish the main story in the game because there is so little pressure upon you to follow its main story. Another common complaint is the ever-presence of the strength of stealth archery, and yeah, I get it. It is rather frustrating how powerful stealth archery is, but I can't say that I care all that much, and I don't think you should either. While I don't typically like the if you don't like it, don't use it as an excuse for bad game design, I do think here it is justified. I'll talk a bit about the destruction of build variety in the next chapter because I do have a lot to say on that, but even some of the cooler and quite frankly more interesting ways to play being taken out of the game systems, there are still tons of builds and playstyles for you to fiddle around with. I still to this day, thousands of hours later, find new ways to play my characters and they are all viable. I haven't touched Stealth Archer in probably over 30 playthroughs or so, and you gotta understand, a single playthrough for me is an easy 20 to 40 hour investment, if not more. I just feel like this is a nothing burger complaint of the game. I probably wouldn't be able to get into every complaint levied at Skyrim I disagree with, simply because I'm bound to forget a few here and there. When a game has been around for as long as Skyrim and has undergone as many various versions, you're bound to rack up not only invalid, but also outdated complaints, and I've been defending this game for a very long time. So with that in mind, I want to tackle one major last complaint, that Skyrim feels repetitive, bland, boring, and empty. There are so many crypts and tombs for you to explore, it feels like that's all there is to explore, and my response to that is, yeah, but that's kind of always been the Elder Scrolls problem. Morrowind had caves, and more caves. Oblivion had ruins and caves, and Skyrim has caves and crypts. But, like the other two games, Skyrim still has enough charm and wonder within its various caves and crypts that it can truly feel alive in ways you wouldn't imagine. Despite its alien, unique world, Morrowind didn't have nearly as diverse landscapes and visuals as Skyrim does. It was very rare in Morrowind to go exploring a cave and end up walking into a vast expanse of waterfall, snow-capped mountains, underground graveyards, underwater tunnels, or ancient ruins. But in Skyrim, these things happen with enough frequency to make them feel common, but also enough rarity to make the experience breathtaking every time. Skyrim is a beautiful, gorgeous game full of fantastic visuals and small little interesting encounters every fucking where. I could stare at the game's skybox for hours and never get bored of looking at it. Each town, save a few, feels alive and unique. I would walk through landscapes all day and just bask in breathtaking atmospheres if I could. Calling Skyrim repetitive in its dungeons to me feels a tad intellectually dishonest, as the game provides so much variety within those caves and crypts and forts. However, even though I am Skyrim's biggest defender, standing in front of it and holding up a shield and sword against the wave of unfair criticisms hurled at it on a daily basis, it feels like that doesn't mean that I'm not bound to turn around once in a while and kick it in the balls for some truly stupid decision making. Chapter 3. The Problems. I'm not going to go into any particular order with these because really I only have 3 major issues, so let's just kind of get... Number 1, the Anniversary Edition. Just the Anniversary Edition. I want to start by saying that I'm not fully against the idea of creator content. The ability for consoles to have mods on their own is already an insane step forward in gaming, but also I think fan content can be fun and genuinely interesting. However, there seemed to be no quality control at all when it came to what was added in the Anniversary Edition, and the inability to turn certain ones off before loading up a new playthrough is, quite frankly, fucking stupid. There are some good, harmless ideas like hardcore mode or fishing, which both should have been in the game from jump, but pretty much everything else shatters the balance of the game in such insane ways that you often feel like you are throwing for not doing them. For example, there is a farm you can acquire very early on in the game called the Golden Hills Plantation. It's outside of East Rorikstead, and its mere existence snaps the economy of the game completely in half. While Skyrim has never had the best gold sinks in gaming, with the most expensive things being houses and homesteads, Golden Hill basically allows you to bypass any need for gold whatsoever. After completing the quest and investing a small amount into building the whole thing, the farm generates profits passively that far exceed the shop that you get for marrying someone. It's such an insane amount of gold that you will never ever have to worry about buying anything for the rest of the game. Just play as you normally would, and whenever you need it, fast travel back to the farm and then back to where you need to make a purchase. A lot of items in the Anniversary Edition are also extremely powerful, like the Umbra Sword. The Elemental Bolt spell is absurd, and overall there's just too much that are too powerful to not go after if you know they exist. I mentioned earlier with the Stealth Archer complaint that the option to just not use the style is there, and I stand by that, because unlike the various things in the Anniversary Creator Club slop, Stealth Archer isn't thrown in your face over and over again with a drop note force-fed down your fucking face hole and clogging it up your fucking quest log. Sorry. I like the idea that players can create their own fun, but the thing that you need to remember is that players fucking suck at balancing. It takes one look at any fan-made content for literally any game in existence to recognize how much the average person sucks at balancing. The second problem I have with Skyrim is the destruction of certain builds. While I maintain the game has phenomenal build diversity, I am extremely put out by the lack of hand-to-hand combat and how many of the spell schools have to be leveled to pretty high levels to be viable. For hand-to-hand combat, I'm especially confused as they added these really cool kill cams that you've probably been seeing in the background footage this whole time to Skyrim, and the bare-handed ones are some of the best in the game, but then Bethesda made being hand-to-hand combatant one of the most difficult things in the game to be. You have to have heavy armor, so no, you can't go the monk route. You can only enhance your damage through gloves and ring enchantments, and finally, you almost have to play as a Khajiit to get the viability. And while I love the Khajiit, I don't always want to have to be a fucking Khajiit to play these kinds of characters. Couple these issues with the fact that bare knuckle attacks neither have their own skill tree nor upgrade your one-handed skill when you use them, and you basically had Bethesda adding super cool kill cams for hand-to-hand combat, and then seeming to forget to put hand-to-hand in the fucking game. But there's more to this, of course. Not being able to select and build a custom class in the beginning of the game has made every character have to go down a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none route. It makes it far harder to do something like, for example, a conjurer who found Solstice and his friends he could summon for company as a child, when you have to start as a Breton to start with a Conjure Wolf spell. You will always start with fire and healing spells, because Bethesda really wanted you to use those for some reason. These small issues mount up and unfortunately dash some of the creativity you had in previous games. However, there is still a ton to be had. Finally, fuck the Thieves Guild questline. I have an issue across both Oblivion and Skyrim in how fast you can climb the ranks in any individual guild, but at least Oblivion's guild questlines felt like they matched the guild you were in. I hate both the companions and mage questlines for reasons I might do another video on if you guys are interested, but the one that pisses me off the most is the Thieves Guild. I love, adore even, the thief archetype. It's one of my favorite ways to build characters, and I love making thieves in my playthroughs. However, I inwardly groan every time it's time to do the Thieves Guild questline only to be thrown into a dungeon delving and assassination plots. There are some cool aspects like robbing the rubbing from the museum to decode Gallius's journal, and in the beginning you have to break into the Honeydew estate, but you can literally just kill all the guards in both of these instances with no consequences. The only real thieving in the game provides is in its Radiant quests, and that pisses me off tremendously. Chapter 4. Conclusion. And so we've done it. After years of not finishing the series, I can finally put it to rest. Here are my rankings for each of the Elder Scrolls mainline titles. In 5th place, I put Arena, a game that even after finishing it all the way through, I am still ungodly baffled as to how it spawned a franchise I love with so much of my heart and soul. It's a game that hates you and isn't afraid to let you know that. I don't hate Arena or think it's a bad game, but Outdated has never described a game as perfectly as Arena. In 4th place, we have Daggerfall. Only marginally better than Arena, Daggerfall suffers from a where do I go, what do I do problem that slows the game's paces to a fucking crawl. There's no reason to do anything outside of you can do it, and the endless expanse just leads to confusion and frustrations that are remnant of a time period the game was released in. In 3rd, I put Oblivion. Between bland landscapes, generic NPCs, and a combat system that feels like I'm walking through wet cement, uphill in a blizzard just to throw wet pool noodles at my enemies until they fall over, Oblivion has a lot of what I love about the modern Elder Scrolls games, but I can't in good conscience put it above Skyrim. Maybe the remaster changes a lot of these issues that I have. I did hear from some that it fixes a lot of the OG Oblivion's issues, and it does look fun, so once I get the money to pick it up, maybe I can dedicate an entire video to it. But for now, I can't put it higher on the list. In 2nd place, I put Skyrim. Of course, for all its flaws, this will always be a game I love above many others. It shifts around in my top 10 favorite games of all time, and I often find myself booting it up late at night with some fantasy music on my Spotify and a bowl of fruit, enjoying another story I can craft for myself. It's a masterclass in visual design, atmosphere, and most of all, creative freedom. It has its issues, and some of them are pretty major, but I don't think I could ever put it lower on this list. Finally, of course, as you might have guessed, in 1st place we have Morrowind, a brilliant masterpiece that it isn't flawless, but its issues are so small, I really don't have that much problems with it. I love Morrowind so much that it often makes its way into my top 5 games of all time and never leaves. It's so damn beautiful and alien-like in its presentation, and its freedom is practically unmatched in terms of gaming. It's the definitive Elder Scrolls game, and my only hope is when we get Elder Scrolls 6 in 30 fucking years, it will be a modern day version of what Morrowind gave us. And that ends our Elder Scrolls journey. Thank you guys for coming along with it. What the fuck? Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for joining. I don't know how to phrase this. Thank you guys for watching it. I appreciate it. The playlist will, of course, be linked in the description down below, as well as show up at the end screen at some point. So if you haven't seen the other 4 videos in this series, I highly recommend you check them out. But I am very happy to finally be finished with this. I just put it off for a long time because I just got distracted. I just got distracted. It happens, but I am happy to finally do it. As always, I want to give a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. You want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.